There's lots of discussion these days about the shift into 5D consciousness. What does that mean exactly? And how can we positively thrive from it in day-to-day life? For me, 5D consciousness is where we're in the deeper flow, the deeper meaning, the underlying meaning of life itself, a movement of consciousness which is flowing from the source and through reality. You pick it up as a sense of higher knowing. This is the way to go now. It lands in a flash, and it comes before the lower mind debate about what I should do and how I should do it. So it's that kind of flash of inspiration, and it's inviting a way of being which precedes doing. So it's an invitation to embody a higher sense of being first, whether that be commitment and courage and willpower, or whether it be surrender, acceptance, and letting go, and a whole myriad of different aspects of being in a spectrum that you feel as a sense of rightness come through you. You have to really open up for that though, because 3D reality is so geared to objectives and logicking what we should do now. So there's quite a density in 3D mind that you've got to open out through first. And when you do that, then you're going to start to pick up a sense of authentic being that feels rightness, like rightness inside of you when it comes through. So really 5D consciousness is going to come through more as that first. And when you're embodying that, then right action flows from it, because authentic being creates around you. It creates a multi-dimensional landscape around you that you then step into. You're not just now reacting to the need or a trigger to the need for some kind of 3D outcome, but what you're doing is stepping forwards with the sense of rightness, and that creates action, that creates a step. And you step into that, whether it be authentic being in relationships, or the right job and how to approach the job that you're doing, or just general day-to-day living circumstances. How do you act on a particular day? What drives your inquiry? What drives your expression? Is it something that is pre-programmed, that you always do on a particular day? Or is it allowing an openness to authenticate, to initiate what wants to happen now? So there's much greater spontaneity, there's much more tuning in, there's feeling sense of authentic being, and that feeds into right action. And as you step forwards with that, then what you notice is things start to click in around you. Synchronicity and signs start to reflect back to you that you are indeed following an authentic, aligned pathway that's tuned in with the universe, because the universe is now speaking back to you. So that is more the sense of 5D creative consciousness that we're moving into. And you're not reacting so much. You're being less triggered by a need for an outcome in the 3D. Really, 5D consciousness, the difference in coming from 5D consciousness as opposed to 3D, is that you're coming more from the question rather than the answer. What do I mean by that? Well, in the 3D, we have constant objectives. I have to achieve this today. I have to go there. I must do this. I'm expected to do that. And so the mind figures out a logical pathway from getting from A to B and C and so on. And you're expected to adhere to that. And that's what most people, or how most people are living. But really from 5D consciousness, it's completely different. It begins with the question. It begins with show me. What is the flow inviting now? How is it inviting me to be now? How can I be more authentic and real in my relationships or how I live and work? And in any particular behaviorism, or what's going to happen is you're going to get patterns coming back to you that show you where you're getting stuck or tight or slipping into the shadow side, the ego side. You're going to get those patterns, and so by asking show me, then what will be revealed are reflections of where you're getting stuck and how to unravel that and come forth more authentically from a higher consciousness, from your higher self being. So it begins with a question, show me, and stepping forwards with what is then being reflected to you. And that can happen too when you come on to actually doing something. So you felt a sense of being and you're stepping forwards with that. And you are wondering how you will get something done. If you're stepping forwards with that kind of not knowing openness, how will you get things done? How will you actually live in the 3D from that place? Well, that's where trust, a huge amount of trust comes in, and trust is essential to this whole creating and thriving from 5D. It's going to take you to places that you hadn't expected, you hadn't planned or anticipated. It's going to take you in that direction because it wants to test the freedom, the liberation, the connection that is authentic 5D or higher dimensional being. So it's going to test that. It's going to take you into all your uncomfort zones. It's going to take you into all the triggering places, because that's where internally the false self shadow side grasps onto reality, because it wants it to be a certain way. And what we have to do is open up through that. It begins with the question then, and the question leads you to a greater release, a greater opening to expand internally to let the higher flow come through. And as you embody beingness, as you internalize that, it's like a movie projector, because we're living in a hologram of light. And as you let authentic being come through, it shapes and creates and changes the hologram to something that's more aligned and authentic to who you naturally are at your core being. And so from the question, you're opening a space, allowing authentic being to come through. Now, it's not going to be easy. We are living in two worlds now, not one. We have the old 3D reality construct that's still grasping onto reality, that's still grasping onto resources and working to control in ever more sophisticated ways. Consider smart AI, 5G, for example. Consider those dynamics, trying to grasp and hold on, trying to divert human consciousness into a synthetic reality. And everywhere you turn, that's reflected back to you as it tries desperately to hang on. But it's losing the battle, fortunately. It's in its last throes. It's beginning to unravel. The whole nature of that old construct is unraveling as we have this galactic infusion of light, which more and more people are responding to and waking up to. And so the energy is shifting from the lower paradigm and into the higher one, which is founded on 5D consciousness, but also higher. And so right now, the energy is unwinding from that and coming into this higher consciousness that the soul of humanity is yearning to ascend to. So what you're going to be experiencing, likelihood is that you'll have these two pathways, these two reflections going on. You have the old conditioned, programmed way of doing things, and the invitation to open up more, to trust, to come more from the higher consciousness. So in any given moment, you're going to have these two realities vying with each other, if you like. It's not like a competition as such, but you will have these two motivations, these two different, opposing, almost polar viewpoints going on. And it's at this point really where an internal decision is necessary. What serves me? Where is my true integrity? Where is my true sovereignty? Where do I wish to move to as a soul now? Is this still about trying to grasp on and hold on and try to shape and control the external, which is forever a losing battle? There's never quite enough when you're grasping and holding on. There is never a fulfillment which will ultimately satisfy you. And as opposed to the surrender, the connection, the letting go, the feeling part of something much bigger than oneself, and allowing that to come through, and then shaping synchronistic circumstances that feel like you have a whole orchestra of activity really supporting your step. You do have to step into the unknown, and then the universe will come to meet you. You do have to step into that infinite potential. And as you do so, it's likely that fear, anxiety, worry, uncertainty, all these things will come up. Because uncertainty and not knowing is the gateway to creation, to authentic creation. Authentic action springs forth from the infinite potential of not knowing. But if you're in the not knowing and you're getting into worry and fear and anxiety, a kind of poverty consciousness, wondering what is coming next, then at that point you're grasping on and you're closing the infinite potential down, and you're kind of left with no real choice but to go down the 3D route. It's really, that's where the crux of the matter is. That's where the fulcrum is. That's where you have to really surrender. You'll feel the tightness. It'll be mental, it'll be emotional, it'll be physical, it'll be karmic. And you really got to sit in that tightness and soften through and say, well, who am I in this great scheme of things? Who do I choose to be? I believe I'm spiritual. I believe I'm eternal. I believe I can thrive and succeed in the universe because here I am after a zillion incarnations. I believe that. So truly let yourself soften into that tightness. You'll feel it inside. Real surrender then. Breathing, letting go. You can animate the tightness. You can animate your sense of lack, your fear. You can animate it out and then look at it in the periphery around you and say, well, I don't choose to be defined by that smallness anymore. I don't choose for that to determine who I am anymore. And you make that choice. And the moment you make that choice, that's where the deep unwinding surrender comes in. You're opening out. It's like opening out through the eye of a needle. You come through that contraction, through that compression, and you expand out the other side. And as you expand out the other side, well, then you're opening that space. You're opening into that infinite potential. And that's where spontaneous, authentic, alchemical magic will take place. And some inspiration will come through to step forth. And things then just clicking in around you. And that's when you know you're supported and held. And that is just utterly priceless when you feel it. This is what it means to thrive in 5D. And we can do it now. It's not about waiting for some magical event. Some events are going to happen. Yes, we're on a trajectory of powerful transformational change on the planet. That is going to happen, but it's not about waiting. It's about really stepping into that right now. We have all the time in the world, but no time to waste. So it's essential that we begin now because the gateway is open, but it's also beginning to close. So we need to step into it now. And really, if you're feeling a yearning to step from the old reality and into the new, it begins by really testing the nature of the old 3D way of doing things and really deciding in any given moment. You can choose a particular time if you like. You can choose a particular afternoon or a day of the week to begin, and you can do something that I really thoroughly enjoy, which has become a way of life, and I call it freewheeling. Freewheeling begins with show me. You have no agenda. You are not in intention, but active attention. You're looking around you. You're looking at the reflections, and the reflections speak back to you. Maybe a creature in nature appears on your path, or the rustle of the wind through the trees, or the shining of the sun, or something like that, or the smile of someone, the twinkle in the eyes, or maybe the words of a favorite song just come to you, and you feel an inspiration to embody something, a way of being. Maybe it is a greater sense of adventure or freedom, and you feel, well, what is it like to be adventurous and free and trusting? What does it feel like if I was to embody that now? And then from that place, you just let authentic action step forth from you. And so you move. You just move and you go in the direction you feel, and you allow higher dimensional, spontaneous flash of knowing to come in. This is the way to go now. Or else the heartfelt pull takes you in a certain direction. And so for me, it is a game of freewheeling, and it's a powerful experience, because then you start to get these tremendous reflections coming back to you. And as I said, it can begin as a game, but then you start to see the deeper meaning of it, the power of it, the beauty of it, the majesty of it, and the sense is then, well, what if I could live from that more and more and more until I'm living from it the whole time? What if when I'm faced with that difficult situation in a particular relationship, that I could just open up without an expectancy of how it should go or should be, and say, right, I'm just going to be in that space with this person unconditionally. I'm approaching it without an intention, but to be myself in that engagement. What then wants to spring forth as an expression of being? And if you do this, it's going to change things in that engagement. You'll come more into authentic relating rather than fixed relationship. And that allows both parties, both beings, to come forward in a more authentic way. So you can try it in your relationships. You can try it next time you have a difficult situation or choice to make and you're not sure what it's about. Where should you go and live, for example? Or how should you work? Or how should you enjoy your free time? And you can use that show me exercise as a means to explore, inquire how to come forwards in that in a more aligned way. And so it begins as a game. It begins as play, as allowing spontaneity just to come through. But then more and more and more you find that these moments click in, and it's like you're riding this pathway, you're riding a wave. It's like where everything is clicking in to support you. And that becomes utterly sublime. Even when you get stuck in the tightness, because you will, because as soon as you activate the flow, it's going to pull on all the fragments where we've identified. So even when this comes up, even when you get stuck and you can't feel or hear the guidance, you know what you need to do now is turn into the tightness. You need to inquire, well, why am I hanging on? What am I afraid of? What do I think I need from this moment? I don't really need that. Can I let it go? And it's at that point then that I can unravel the tightness once more, and the flow gathers strength again. It picks you up once more. So really, to me, this is what to thrive in 5D really means. It's a challenge. It is not easy, but it is straightforward. There are some basic tools that you can apply as you come forwards. Okay, it's not easy necessarily to come from 5D consciousness. It's not easy, but it is straightforward. I've shared some basic pointers which will get you a long way if you allow them and you explore them deeply. So it is challenging, but it is straightforward. And if you dare to step through the conditioning and into the openness of not knowing what is happening now, what is happening next, and just allow some higher flash of knowing to come through, or the heartfelt pull, then it'll take you forwards, and it'll take you on the most alchemical, magical mystery ride, which will be the revelation of you, and you'll be thriving in 5D. That's my encouragement to all who are yearning, intriguing for this higher way of consciousness, this higher being. Namaste.